Hi everyone, for today's session I'll talk about um, how we can improve uh, insert performance to the database using Entity Framework AddRange method as opposed to add, and I'll explain to you why AddRange is faster than the add method. Um, so I've written this simple application just to measure the performance of AddRange and add method just to compare it. So it's basically a very simple application just to insert rows, 10,000 rows. So basically the benefit is actually more when we can see the benefit of AddRange more when it comes to like a bulk rows like 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. We can see the benefit more rather than just a small set of rows. So that's why I've used the big number like 10,000. So it's just basically adds with the add range, it's just adding the data into a collection and then calling the add range and calling the save changes async. And I added this print statement just to, because later on we'll have a look at the SQL generated, so we can see if the add range is actually does a bulk insert or any special which make it faster than the add. So with the add method, it's exactly the same code, 10,000 rows, but it just adds it to the DB set instead of to the collection and calling the save changes async. So yeah, let's execute the program and see the SQL. So if we have a look at the SQL profiler, it's clear that the AddRange method does not do bulk insert. So in the code I printed, I executed this print statement just to divide, so we can see clearly what insert statements that are executed by the AddRange and the add method, and we can see that they're just a normal, it's just normal insert statements by the AddRange method, and it's exactly the same thing that the add method of Entity Framework is doing. So in terms of insert statements, they are exactly the same. Alright, so we've seen that the SQL, the insert statements between AddRange and add is exactly the same. So the question is, what actually makes AddRange faster than add? The answer can be found in this Microsoft article. It says here, when using Entity Framework 6, developers are able to call AddRange and remove range directly on dbset instead of iterating on a collection and calling add once per instance. The advantage of using the range methods is that the cost of detect changes is only paid once for the entire set of entities, as opposed to once per each added entity. So that makes sense. So basically, what makes AddRange faster is that it only call the detect changes method once for the entire collection, as opposed to calling it as you add the data into using the add method. So now let's have a look at the results, the test results between the add range and add method. So as we can see there in the test results, that the add range method is almost like more than half of the add method. So it took about add range took about 1.5 minutes, and add method took about 3 minutes. So the conclusion is we should use the AddRange method when adding doing an insert into the database, or remove range for deleting, as opposed to remove, because because the AddRange does not do the detect changes one by one, but it does it for the whole set, as opposed to the add method, which does the detect changes method on row by row, one by one basis.